The Holocaust is probably the single most infamous event of the 20th century, and I don't think I need to explain why that is to you. For many of us today, it's easy to look back and say, I would have done something, but for those at the time, resistance was no small feat. As the world descended into war and tragedy once more, one man could not sit idly by, and after battling the invasion of his homeland by both the Soviets and Nazis, Polish hero Jan Karski made sure that if the Nazis were going to exterminate Europe's so-called undesirables, the world was going to know about it. Cheating death on numerous occasions, Karski's efforts as part of the Polish underground resistance ensured that the Nazis could not hide the scope of their atrocities. But unfortunately, these sacrifices would not avert the devastating course Hitler and his cronies had set. Nonetheless, Karski's story is one of unbelievable survival, relentless determination, and a drive to do what is right in a world that has reverted to its most primal behaviors. So, just who was Jan Karski, and how did he expose the horrific campaign of genocide perpetrated by the Nazis during World War II? As with many famous figures from across history, Jan Karski was not born Jan Karski, but as he was born in Poland, he has a very Polish name that is incompatible with my unfortunate accent. Regardless, Karski was born to a Roman Catholic family in Lodz on April 24, 1914, just in time to live through the First World War, and spent most of his early life in near poverty after the death of his father. Karski left his majority Jewish neighborhood in the early 1930s to attend law school in what is now Lviv, Ukraine, graduating in 1935 with degrees in law and diplomacy, along with completing officer cadet school for the Artillery Reserve. His unfortunately timed career began with the consular division of the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1938. But within a year, his responsibilities had shifted from diplomacy to defense, as the weight of the Soviets and Nazis bore down on the Polish people. In this doomed attempt to save his nation, Karski cut his teeth fighting the Nazis at the Battle of, notably the largest tank battle and the second largest overall battle of the Polish campaign. But the inevitable could not be avoided. Somehow managing to escape unharmed, Karski and his 5th Regiment of the Mounted Artillery attempted to flee to Hungary, only to be captured by the Red Army by the 20th of September. Returning to present-day Ukraine now as a POW and adopting the name Karski, Jan once again cheated death by concealing his rank of 2nd Lieutenant, with the Soviets transferring him to the Nazis in November 1939 and allowing Karski to evade the Soviet-perpetrated Katyn massacre early the next year. It was while being transported by the Nazis that Karski, in yet another incredibly lucky act, managed to escape captivity, seeking out the SZP in Warsaw, the first resistance movement in occupied Europe, and it's with this resistance group that his true heroism shone through. An educated man knowledgeable in geography and foreign languages, along with a terrific memory, Karski was a remarkable asset for the Polish resistance, who wasted no time in exploiting his skills. He began his resistance work in early 1940 as a courier, conveying information between the Polish resistance and their exiled government based in France and later Britain. Before the year was even over, Karski was again in captivity, detained by the infamous Gestapo in Slovakia and brutally tortured. Not wanting to reveal anything about his work, Karski attempted suicide in Nazi captivity, but once more survived, and was sent to a hospital where other Polish resistance members soon managed to free him. Undeterred by his traumatic time as a prisoner, Karski soon embarked on his most significant mission, tasked in 1942 with reporting Nazi atrocities in Poland to the exiled Polish government in London. To do this, Karski was twice smuggled into the Warsaw Ghetto and then, disguised as a Ukrainian camp guard, snuck into a transit camp moving victims of the Holocaust to Belzec death camp, witnessing the true depravity of the Nazis' extermination campaign and writing a lengthy report on his experiences. This report, titled The Mass Extermination of Jews in German-occupied Poland, was smuggled out of Poland, along with microfilm containing further information on the then ongoing Holocaust, being presented to the United Nations on December 10, 1942, though the UN at that time was just like 4 guys in a room. Despite his and the efforts of countless other resistance members, little was or could be done in response to his report, and from here, Karski would spend the rest of the war assigned as Poland's representative in the US, attempting to stir up some public opinion against the atrocities he witnessed, but this too would be in vain. Jan Karski remained in the US for the rest of his life, haunted by the things he had seen and disgusted at the lack of action taken to do something about it. He gained US citizenship in 1954, married famous Jewish-Polish dancer Pola Norenska in 1965, and taught as a professor at Georgetown University for some 40 years. But it was only in the mid-70s that he began to speak publicly of his wartime efforts. Karski spoke of the horrors he saw committed against the people of Europe, and was critical of those who stood by and let the Holocaust happen, emphatically stating that this sin will haunt humanity to the end of time. His own nation wouldn't recognize his efforts until 1989, coincidentally just after the commies were finally removed after their 50-year occupation, but that's neither here nor there. Until his death in 2000, Karski spent his days keeping the memory of the Holocaust alive, honoring the lives of those who were lost and promoting understanding of the horrors perpetrated by the Nazis. Between the 40s and 2000s, Karski wrote 6 books covering Polish history, mostly concerning the Holocaust and the German occupation during the war. Today, Karski is remembered as a messenger of the Jewish people who ensured their pleas for help were known to the world, and even though he could not prevent the Holocaust, he still made certain that it would not be covered up. The story of Jan Karski is a story of undying hope, of optimism in the face of impossible odds. More than anything, Karski cared about his fellow man, certainly more than his own life, and put his safety on the line to expose the plight of 6 million Jews and some 5 million other so-called undesirables. The world sat by while Hitler and the Nazis made their intentions clear, and as a result of that inaction, we all now live in the shadow of the most industrialized genocide in history. Many washed their hands of Europe's Jews long before the Holocaust even began, but the likes of Karski undertook immense efforts to ensure they would not be forgotten. I want to end this video with the words of Karski himself, as I think he sums up his own significance better than I ever could. It was easy for the Nazis to kill Jews because they did it. The Allies considered it impossible and too costly to rescue the Jews because they didn't do it. The Jews were abandoned by all governments, church hierarchies, and societies, but thousands of Jews survived because thousands of individuals in Poland, France, Belgium, Denmark, Holland helped to save Jews. Now, every government and church says, we tried to help the Jews because they are ashamed. They want to keep their reputations. They didn't help because 6 million Jews perished, but those in the government, in the churches, they survived. No one did enough. Thank you so very much for watching. Happy Remembrance Day, and I'll see you in the next one.